Cozy games. I love a cozy game. And in 2023, there is no shortage of cozy games to choose from. But do you ever find yourself scrolling through an endless list of games, overwhelmed by all of the options, not knowing which game to choose? And then if you're anything like me, you scroll for so long that you end up not choosing anything at all? Same. So I figured today we could talk about how to navigate the abundance of cozy games together. How do we prioritize which games to play and when to play them? First things first, I think we need to define cozy games. If we want to try to do a fancy definition, I would say they are games that offer a sense of tranquility, relaxation, comfort, typically featuring soothing aesthetics, simple gameplay mechanics, and serene environments. Typical cozy games are games like Stardew Valley, Animal Crossing, Spiritfarer, those games that make you feel warm and fuzzy inside just by playing them. But the best thing about the cozy gaming genre is that it is completely dictated by the player themselves. You get to decide what is cozy to you. It is a completely individual experience, and that's one of my favorite things about it. If you feel like Cult of the Lamb is a cozy game, then it's a cozy game. Now, it is no secret that cozy games have definitely been on the rise recently, and I think a lot of that popularity just stems from video games becoming more accessible to everyone, combined with people seeking a distraction from their busy everyday schedules. Who doesn't want to dive into a game, get completely lost in it, maybe obtain their grandparents' old farm, end up on an isolated island somewhere, and then completely renew and restore it from the ground up, over and over and over and over again? I know I do. So as the popularity of these games increases, so does the development of these types of games, which leads us to the ultimate predicament. Which cozy games do we play? How do we pick? And I'll admit, I often find myself struggling to choose which cozy games to invest my time in, and with so many amazing options available, it is tough to prioritize. While we're on the topic of prioritizing, as we look forward into the new year, one thing that I plan on prioritizing is learning new skills and trying to become more productive. And what better way to do that than with the sponsor of today's video, Skillshare. If you haven't heard of Skillshare, it is an online learning community with thousands of online classes on a wide variety of topics, including things like photography, graphic design, film and video, productivity, and so much more. I recently sat down and took the class by Ali Abdal called Productivity for Creators, Systems, Organization, and Workflow, which taught me skills about staying motivated, staying consistent, and being efficient with my time. Not only does Skillshare offer classes just like the one I took for individual skill development, but it's also a hub for career-focused classes. So whether you aim to elevate your current career path or embark on a new side venture, Skillshare provides an array of courses in freelancing, entrepreneurship, marketing, social media, and so many more, all focused on empowering your journey towards professional development. There is so much to learn over on Skillshare, and the first 500 people to click on the link down in the description are going to get a 1-month free trial. Be sure to go check it out. Thank you so much again to Skillshare for sponsoring today's video. I think the biggest thing to establish first is that you're probably not going to get to play every single cozy game that comes out or every single game that you see that might interest you. And I honestly think that is one of my biggest struggles. For that reason, I really think the focus needs to be on prioritizing how we're picking the games in the first place, because if I was going just based on which games I'm interested in, that would be all of them. So let's dive back in on how to tackle all of these cozy games. I'm going to go over a few strategies that I either already implement or I plan on implementing in the future. And the first one I want to talk about is that some games are just always going to be in my rotation. Take into consideration which games have the most longevity. Which games are you willing to always go back for more? For me, those games are games like Animal Crossing and Disney Dreamlight Valley. No matter how many hours I've put into these games, I can always find something else to do. Plus, one of them is still actively getting updates. I have a feeling most of us are like this, where we have our go-to games. They will always be there for us, but those are the easy ones to choose. It is stepping outside of the comfort zone where it gets a little bit more complicated. One strategy to consider when choosing your next cozy game is how long the game is. How much time are you willing to spend on one game? How much time do you have to play games in general? Do you care if you finish the game? I love a game that I can sink countless hours into, but at the same time, mixing in games that are a little bit shorter just help me get that sense of accomplishment when I actually get to finish one. This is definitely a strategy that I plan on implementing coming up in the new year. I want to find more shorter games that I can realistically finish. I just occasionally want to be able to check one off the list. The next strategy for picking a cozy game is going to be seeking unique experiences. When it comes to cozy gaming, there is definitely a trope. But not all cozy games see you inheriting a farm and having to build it up from nothing. There's definitely a wide variety of options to choose from, and I think it's crucial to try to find that balance to keep things fresh and prevent burnout. So if you've been playing farm sim after farm sim after farm sim, maybe try changing it up. Maybe try a puzzle game like A Little to the Left, Unpacking, even something like Captain Toad Treasure Tracker. Or if you're okay with a little bit of combat, maybe try something with some roguelike elements like Cult of the Lamb. I promise it can be cozy. Now, while I do know that variety is important, I also know that I tend to gravitate towards games that are similar to ones that I already like, and that's okay too. So when you're trying to figure out which cozy game to play next, I don't think it's a bad strategy to look up some reviews and see if the games that you're looking at have similar mechanics to the ones that you already enjoy. Typically, my favorite things to do in games are design, manage, and quest. So if I'm seeking out a new game to play, those are typically the things that I'm going to look for first. And if I happen to stumble across a game that fits all of those boxes, I know that it's going to be one that I'm going to love. Another way to prioritize which games you're playing in the moment is by community recommendations. You don't necessarily have to be playing the latest and greatest game, but I do think sometimes it can be fun to follow those trends so you can be involved in the conversations that are happening in the cozy gaming community. One of my favorite things is being able to share my gaming experiences with everyone else, whether that's playing a game that just came out or speculating about future updates and DLC for one of my favorite games. Being involved in a community just makes it so much better. Now, with the sheer amount of cozy games that we have right now, I do think it's important to narrow your focus on a couple games at a time. This may not be the case for everyone, but I get overwhelmed if there are too many different games that I'm playing at once. So I think for me personally, I'm always going to have a couple of games that have no real end to them, but then I want to try to narrow it down to one or two games I'm trying to beat, focus on those, beat them, and then I can move on to the next. All in all, I think it's amazing that we have so many different cozy games to choose from because there truly is something for everyone. And I think finding ways to prioritize which games you're playing can really help to reduce how overwhelming it feels when you're just scrolling through an endless list of games. I would love to know which strategies you're using to choose the next cozy game you'll be playing. Thank you so much again to Skillshare for sponsoring today's video, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.